Coming up next, a riveting leap back to the 80s to celebrate 10 phenomenal songs that don't get the credit they deserve from some of the greatest female voices ever, including some insane stories behind them, including a legendary singer who was touring a London museum when suddenly she was struck by a tingling and then a numbness and searing pain. She'd have emergency surgery immediately to save her life from her spinal cord, and in the surgery, they had to remove 3 bones from her spine and shift her vocal cords to the side. When she awoke, she could no longer sing. There's also the eerie vocal and a very strange song that sounded like a train wreck. It was a disaster. But you know what? Its peculiarity made its singer a revelation and a legend. And then there's the pivotal day where a future legend would give a career-defining performance. At the time, she was destitute and improvising a life inside an abandoned fire station, where the building's utilities failed, the toilet froze, nearly ruining a career before it even began. Plus, the highest note achieved on a hit song in history, and it's actually not annoying. Let's do it. Hey, Music Junkies, let's get right into today's show. It's a great one. As you know, we all know, art is subjective, and as an art form, music is probably the most subjective. I mean, it's hard to explain why some vocal performances are more acclaimed or more popular than others, but what I get most excited about are these so-called hidden gems, these performances that don't get as much attention, but they're songs that we all know, and I want to celebrate them today. We can't let them be forgotten because they're phenomenal songs. 10 female vocals of the 80s that kill it. Now, kicking out the countdown at number 10, we have rock and roll's air raid siren in an underappreciated duet. It's Surrender to Me by Ann Wilson and Robin Zander. I mean, this power ballad brings together 2 legendary voices, the incomparable Ann Wilson, the powerhouse frontwoman of Heart, and Robin Zander, the instantly recognizable lead singer of Cheap Trick. The pairing of these 2 magnetic, distinctly styled vocalists from different yet complementary rock worlds was a headline-making moment for the era. I can't believe this song wasn't bigger. Surrender to Me was crafted specifically for the 1988 film Tequila Sunrise, of course starring Mel Gibson and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Mel Gibson, Michelle Pfeiffer, Kurt Russell, Tequila Sunrise.
It was designed to fit the movie's romantic crime mood, lending a dramatic pulse to the on-screen storytelling. The collaboration really hinged on Ann Wilson's extraordinary vocal prowess, delivering a soaring, emotionally charged performance that showcases her range, her control, and her expressive power. And of course, complemented by Zander's signature raspy, charismatic delivery. The song was co-written by future pop superstar Richard Marx and Ross Vanelli, of course, Gino Vanelli's brother. Richard personally pitched the idea of a duet with Ann Wilson for the movie, setting the stage for a landmark vocal partnership. I mean, you'd think he'd want to sing it with her, but it went to Robin, even though Richard Marx's career was taken off at that point. An interesting coincidence ties Robin Zander to the word surrender, as this track became his second well-known hit with that title, distinct from Cheap Trick's teen anthem Surrender, of course. The 2 songs occupy very different emotional terrains, the latter a high-energy, intergenerational anthem, the former a romantic power ballad. Surrender to Me, though, climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March '89, and this is what Ann Wilson told me about it.
Robin Zander is one of the better male singers of our time.
Absolutely.
Surrender to Me was one of those moments where 2 record companies went, hey, this might work.
Right.
And little did they know that Robin and I already knew each other. We'd already played together a lot with Cheap Trick.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a blast. It was just pure fun.
Yeah.
And it was so great to get to sing such a beautiful song with such a beautiful man's voice.
Oh, yeah.
Person as Robin.
I mean, it hit number 6. Why don't we hear it more? At number 9, we have the sexiest voice ever, Sade with Your Love is King.
Crown you with my heart, your love is king.
This song dropped in the UK in January of '84 as the lead single from Diamond Life. On the track, Sade delivers that cool, understated sophistication that would become her distinctive signature sound.
Never need to part, your kisses ring.
However, before the gloss and the polish that soon developed for Sade, life was pretty rough around the edges. Get this, Sade and her boyfriend at the time, writer Robert Elms, they were squatting in an abandoned fire station. Have you ever heard this? Sade and her bandmates found their world revolving around that former fire station, an unoccupied space they converted into what is referred to as a squat, and they weren't authorized to be there at all, partly because it was falling apart. The ceiling leaked, the pipes coughed, and the place wore its scars like a veteran's weathered face. The bathroom upstairs was not a room as much as it was a dare. It was literally an on-the-fire escape, an awkward perch that offered a view of the street's bustle and the winter's insistence. And on the cold months, the bathroom, like everything else unheated in the building, it would freeze solid. Water pipes hissed at the chill, tiles clung to their last bit of warmth, and the toilet, let's talk about the toilet for a minute, stood as a small, stubborn monument to the realities of their life there. Now, they described it as unglamorous, and that had to be an understatement. It was the polar opposite of a diamond life. And of course, the title of Sade's mesmerizing debut record. So get this, they had one tiny electric heater, a bath in the kitchen, and the day that Sade was getting ready to perform Your Love Is King on Top of the Pops, the TV show that could lead to a breakout success for any artist, the toilet had frozen over. It actually happened at the worst possible time, and Sade was already on pins and needles with nervousness about the performance. Everybody hustled, and they were able to thaw the toilet just enough to get it functional. And then CBS Records came to the rescue, sending a posh black limousine to pick her up and take her to the show in complete comfort. It would be kind of what the future would look like. Sade's performance on Top of the Pops was breathtaking, to say the least.
I'm crying out for more. Your love is king.
Sade got back after that appearance. Everything had dramatically shifted. Stardom, it wasn't a dream anymore. It was heating up. In other words, no more squats and no more frozen toilets. Now, Sade has been on an extended hiatus for years, but there's always rumors floating around that she's working on new music and a possible tour. Your Love Is King ranks as one of the true treasures of the 80s. Sade's voice is magical on that track. As the introduction of Sade in the UK, the single went to number 6 in that country. It did stall at number 54 here in the Billboard Hot 100, released for the follow-up to Smooth Operator in June of '85. Honestly, the song was too jazzy, cool, and sultry for top 40 radio anyway. But I think it's a great song.
Your love is real.
All right, before we get to number 8, remember to get your Vintage Years collection shirt. I'm wearing 1967. We've got all the great years. You can get it down below or right up here. Make sure to get it as we got that holiday special going. Coming in at number 8 on our countdown of the top hidden gem female vocals of the 80s, I've got Shadows of the Night, an explosive performance by the great Pat Benatar that's often tragically overlooked. Okay, in the summer of 1980, D.L. Byron, David Lee Byron, penned a song to express the pulse of New York City nights, written to be the central piece for the soundtrack of Times Square, which is a film about 2 teenage runaways weaving through the neon heart of the Big Apple.
The venue will be Times Square.
But fate had other plans. The film's producers actually turned the tune down, and this left DL at a crossroads. He was very proud of the song, but he didn't know where to go next. Undaunted, though, DL carried the song on a second album leash, hoping Arista Records would see the spark. But the label president, Clive Davis, reportedly deemed it not commercial enough, a verdict that could have crushed a lesser songwriter. But DL chose resilience instead and forged on. The song began to drift through the winds of the industry, taking on new life with fresh voices. So in 1981, Helen Schneider released the first version, and that found footing across Europe, its chords and drama resonating with audiences there. And then that same year, Rachel Sweet stepped in with a version that kept the core but tweaked the lyrics a little, adding another thread to the song's evolving tapestry. But then came the moment that would elevate the rise of a future superstar. In September 1982, after an intense battle with her label Chrysalis Records, Pat Benatar rewired Shadows of the Night in her iconic style and released her rendition as the lead single from Get Nervous. Her forceful, commanding rock vocal turned the track into a complete powerhouse. It hit number 3 on the rock charts and top 15 on the pop charts, and it won her a Grammy and sealed its legacy as a defining moment of Benatar's burgeoning career. Pat Duet's success with Shadows of the Night, though, was sweet redemption for D.L. Byron and a reinforcement of Pat's enormous talent. But the song's journey wasn't without further friction. A legal tangle emerged over credits. Pat and her drummer Myron had been granted permission to modify some verses, but they were unaware that Rachel Sweet had already secured Byron's approval for lyric changes. When Benatar's version hit the airwaves, she and Myron were credited for additional lyrics while Sweet found herself totally uncredited, a dispute that left lingering tensions over royalties and rightful authorship. Let me mention today's sponsor. You know that one photo that instantly takes you back? Maybe it's your siblings in matching flannel pajamas around the tree. Maybe it's your grandparents holding hands, smiling like they're still teenagers. But for me, it's the picture of my dad carving the turkey in a band t-shirt, rocking a mullet that could open for Skinner. Well, that photo, it belongs in one of these, Aura frames. This holiday season, gift the gift that brings those priceless moments back every single day. Aura frames makes it effortless. Preload your favorite photos, add a message, and ship it in a premium gift box, and boom, you just won the holidays. Unlimited photo and video uploads, instant sharing, and a stunning display that looks like a real print. No scrolling, no swiping, just memories in motion. Because you can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. Right now, head to auraframes.com and get $35 off Aura's best-selling carver mat frames named #1 by Wirecutter when you use code ROCK at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code ROCK. This deal is exclusive and frames sell out fast, so grab yours now and support the show by mentioning us at the checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, moving on with our top 10 female hidden gem vocals of the 80s countdown. I've got the Psychic Treasure, Rooms on Fire by Stevie Nicks. Now, the tell behind Rooms on Fire and the fantastic performance by Stevie Nicks on this track reads like a whispered taunt that lingers in a room long after the lights go down. Stevie often recalls a moment that felt less like a collaboration with another artist and more like a crossing of fates. The encounter that set up the magic, that happened with Rupert Hine. A sort of radiance that was felt like a magnetic force. Stevie hired Rupert to produce her album The Other Side of the Mirror before even hitting the first note of a melody. It felt like a spiritual pact to conjure something amazing. These are her words. The setting sealed the passion. A fabulous Dutch castle perched high on a mountain, a room that was part stage, part sanctuary. Now, they recorded in the formal dining room, where walls wore old, expensive art that seemed to watch their every move. It felt like it was haunted. And whenever Rupert entered those antique walls, the atmosphere would seem to shift. Stevie said the rooms themselves appeared to catch fire with his presence, a living, breathing energy that filled the air. She said the electricity was really inspiring. She described it as a palpable vibe that intensified the moment that Rupert walked in. They lived there in a cocoon of time, 4.5 months where the outside world felt distant and the inside world of their collaboration was all their own. The castle became a kind of telepathic space, a time space where the creative energy stretched and stretched until the boundaries between artist and idea blurred. So Stevie followed him to England to mix the album and then to Farmyard Studios just outside London, which was a place that felt like a cottage in Wells, cozy but eerie from hundreds of years of memories. This, according to Stevie, was a passionate love affair, but then she said something happened to Rupert that made it impossible for them to stay together. Even though they had this heavy affair that inspired all the music, his departure was not necessarily rooted in a romantic issue, but in a fault line that had to break. Now, I did some research on this, and Stevie finally found an interview where she said he got fed up with her drug use. Now, regardless of the reason, though, the magic that they set out to make came to fruition. Stevie returned to Los Angeles a changed woman, carrying the echo of those 4 months in her soul, and the rooms were still burning in her memory, even as the fire seemed to be stolen away. So, of course, she turned it into a song. Like most of the body of work by Stevie Nicks, Rooms on Fire had a spiritual resonance to it, and it inspired an incredible vocal. Really one of Stevie's most underrated. It was a number 16 pop hit in the UK and on the Billboard Hot 100 here. On the mainstream rock chart, though, it went all the way to number 1. Great song. All right, the performance we chose for number 6 on the top 10 female hidden gems was delivered by Natalie Merchant's Genius Dynamics on Like the Weather by 10,000 Maniacs. You know, the thing that makes 10,000 Maniacs Like the Weather so captivating is that clash between the music and the lyrics. You got a catchy, danceable melody, the kind that could fill a happy dance floor, paired with lyrics that land with eerie precision, describing manic depression in a way that feels both intimate and unsettling, though. It's a contrast that seems almost impossible, yet somehow it just worked. Now, I think it worked because of the purity of Natalie Merchant's charming vocal. Now, the band started out, her band, as Still Life back in 1981 in Jamestown, New York. After a few lineup tweaks, they adopted the name 10,000 Maniacs, a nod to the horror film 2000 Maniacs. Now, the big turning point in the group's fortunes came when Natalie Merchant stepped in as the lead vocalist. Her clear, distinctive voice became inseparable from the band's identity for years, long enough to shape not just their sound, but really their entire trajectory. And then, of course, she left to pursue a solo career in 1993, stating that she no longer wanted to make art by committee. Even after she moved on, though, the Maniacs carried on, but they never recaptured the same spark that Merchant helped ignite. But, you know, the Maniacs' big splash came in 1987 with the album In My Tribe, which had already earned them a loyal following. And from that record, Like the Weather emerges, the standout track that defined the band's breakthrough moment. Now, Natalie Merchant wrote Like the Weather about a challenging day battling the depression brought about by seasonal affective disorder. I know a few people that have that. This song, it's an emotive song without really being a downer. I fell in love with Natalie's irresistible quiver that is prevalent in Like the Weather the first time I heard it and beyond. To me, it's soul-warming ear candy. Is that a thing, soul-warming ear candy? It's sweet and savory, her voice. Natalie Merchant, she had a knack for creating a unique vibe that was all her own, though. Now, Natalie did have considerable success when she decided to go solo. She had quite a few hits, a couple of top 25 singles. Carnival, there was Wonder, there was Jealousy, and Kind and Generous. That's probably my favorite.
Hypnotized, paralyzed. They say I must be one of the wonders. Jealousy, so kind and generous.
But Natalie had a very scary ordeal about 8 years ago. She was visiting the V&A Museum in London in 2018, and suddenly her right arm began tingling. Her arm then went numb, and suddenly she was in intense pain. She flew home on the first flight, and after an MRI, she had to have emergency surgery. Her spinal column was collapsing into her spinal cord. The doctors wasted no time getting her into surgery to save her through emergency surgery. So the hours-long procedure, they removed 3 bones from her spine, and to do that, doctors had to shift her vocal cords to the side. When she woke up after the surgery, she could no longer sing. It took years for her to mend and to get back her voice at all. That's insane. Like the Weather wasn't a big hit from a chart perspective for Natalie and the 10,000 Maniacs. It did sell at number 68 on the pop charts, but it went to number 37 on the rock charts. That's a special gem from the 80s for sure. All right, we're at the halfway point of our countdown, the top 10 hidden gems of the 80s from females. Coming in at number 5, I got a great one. You Could Have Been With Me by Sheena Easton. You Could Have Been With Me almost found a different voice to carry it. Before United Artists handed the project to Sheena Easton, the song had been in the running for more established stars like Donna Summer and Dusty Springfield. It wasn't until UA stepped in and brought Easton into the fold that the track found its home, though. The co-writer, Oscar winner Bill Conti, the man behind the iconic scores of the Rocky films, he wasn't sold on Easton at first. He didn't quite warm to her. That was until they had a face-to-face meeting and her bubbly personality won him over, proving that first impressions aren't always a deal breaker or a deal maker. Now, the release of You Could Have Been With Me in 1981 became a turning point in Sheena Easton's career. It coincided with a breakthrough moment, her British documentary, The Big Time, that captured the world's attention, highlighting her journey toward a record deal.
Climb to the top. How are you feeling?
In a mild state of panic.
In the United States, the title track of her second album climbed to number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100, following the soaring success of her American number 1 hit, Morning Train 9 to 5, and also her iconic James Bond theme for Your Eyes Only.
My baby.
In this song, she delivers one of the greatest notes in modern history. Sheena Easton delivers a jaw-dropping sustained high note at the climax of the song. It's about 2 minutes and 35 seconds in. Some have said it's the highest note achieved on a hit song up to that point. Of course, a decade later, Mariah Carey would top it and hit Emotions. But you know what? I think Sheena's is more beautiful. It doesn't kind of shriek in your ears. Even in her shows in the 2020s, fans were astonished to hear her still hitting those soaring highs, a testament to how central that moment is to the song's vocal arc. The note lands with power and soul, underscoring Sheena's vocal prowess and securing the line as one of the standout female vocal moments of the entire 80s. Awards and recognition followed, not for the song itself though, but for the ripple effect of its success. Easton's rising profile earned her a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in '82. Of course, the year the song peaked, it's probably good she didn't win it. That blend of momentum and prestige helped cement her as one of the defining pop voices of the 80s. She had a ton of hits in the 80s. I mean, she had like a dozen hits, and yet people don't look at her in the same way as they look at a lot of other pop stars from the 80s, and it's beyond me. Our top 10 hidden gem female vocals of the 80s rolls on with Magic by the late, great Olivia Newton-John at number 4. John Farrar, the creative force behind many of Olivia Newton-John's timeless hits, from You're the One That I Want to Physical, crafted Magic, specifically for iconic Xanadu character Kira, a muse who sparks creativity and romance. Now, the song was tailored to fit her luminous persona, turning her performance into a defining moment of the film. Lyrically, Magic channels the film's dream-chasing spirit with lines like, "You have to believe we are magic, nothing can stand in our way." Really a message of faith and possibility that resonates beyond the story. Musically, Farrar stitched together a distinctive soft rock pop blend with an ethereal, almost otherworldly glow, giving Magic a timeless standalone appeal. Truly one of the most magical songs. I mean, it lives up to its title. Now, though Xanadu is panned by critics, the track transcended the movie, becoming a pop culture phenomenon that endures far beyond its failure at the box office. A heartwarming thread from Newton-John herself is that Xanadu brought her real-life magic. It was off-screen. She actually met Matt Latanzi, the man who would become her husband and the father of her daughter, Chloe. She often quips that Chloe is the true magic born from the film's experience, a living reminder of the joy Xanadu sparked. While Xanadu the film struggled to find its footing with critics and at the box office, its heartbeat, the soundtrack, it soared with ELO and Olivia Newton-John. The lead single Magic rocketed to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 straight weeks in 1980, one of the biggest hits of the year, proving it could shine brightly as a standalone pop sensation, even if the movie didn't do as well. And actually, in a poignant footnote, John Lennon, just before his passing, named Magic and ELO's All Over the World among his recent favorites in a September 1980 Newsweek interview, really highlighting the song's broad resonance beyond its cinematic ties. Magic's appeal never waned for Olivia. She kept returning to it throughout her career, and also at her daughter Chloe's suggestion, she re-recorded the vocals for a 2011 dance remix. And proceeds from the remix went to the Olivia Newton-John Cancer and Wellness Center, adding another layer of enduring real-world magic to the track. Thank you so much for the magic, Olivia. We all miss you. All right, coming in at number 3 on our top 10 hidden gem female vocals of the 80s, it's kind of an obscure pick, but a really cool song. All We Are by Doro of Warlock. Now, All We Are isn't just a song for the German metal performer Doro Pesch. It's an enduring anthem that feels like it's metal fire. Never burn out. I mean, for Doro, it's the signature roar that turned into a worldwide rallying cry. A heavy metal party that pulls fans from every corner of the globe into one unstoppable fist-pumping moment. Such a cool song. As the lead singer in the group Warlock back in the 80s and also during her solo shows, this track is a mission statement live, a pulse of energy that keeps her shows electrifying and indispensable. Doro calls it a connecting anthem, a thread that links Warlock and Doro's legacy while inviting new generations to stand up, unite, and push back against injustice. Its power is in the way it breathes life into every performance, though. A highlight that remains just as vital and impactful today as it did really at the dawn of her career in the mid-'80s. This is definitely one you're going to want to go download. The music video for All We Are became a sensational MTV staple. I mean, do you remember when they played it on Headbangers Ball back in the day? When they did that, it helped Warlock explode onto the late 80s metal scene. Its track's punchy hooks and, Doro's commanding presence solidified the band's popularity far beyond the underground. It really turned Warlock into a touring force and one of those bands to watch in European and American metal circles. Behind the gleaming headlines, the period after Triumph and Agony was defined as much by legal frictions as by chart success. Doro found herself locked in a high-stakes dispute with her manager and the label over who controlled the Warlock name, also the branding, and ultimately the rights to the band's image and catalog. Now, the tensions were centered on issues of ownership and creative control and financial settlements, questions of who would exploit the Warlock name for merchandising and who would reap the lucrative proceeds from tours and recordings, and how decisions about future music would be made. It was a huge struggle, and the clashes escalated into formal legal battles that dragged through courts and arbiters, tapping into trademark claims, breach of contract allegations, and really disputes over royalties. The lawsuit was about more than the name of the band. It was about the very identity of Warlock and the ability of Doro to steer her own artistic direction. And by the end of the Triumph and Agony tour, the dispute, it did get resolved in a way that left Doro as the sole original member of Warlock. But man, it really, like I said, it stopped their momentum and it stopped them from being a much bigger band. The period cost Doro in so many ways. I mean, she should have been so much bigger, a much bigger star than she was. I mean, just listen to this song for the proof of the enduring power of Doro's vision and enormous vocal talent. All right, coming in at number 2 on our countdown of the top 10 hidden gems, I've got a strange one, but man, it's awesome. Björk's performance on the track Birthday as the lead singer of the Sugarcubes. I mean, with its eerie vocal and strange time signatures on first listen, the song sounds like a complete train wreck. It really does. But it's truly pop magnificence. You can't turn away. So at the age of 6, Björk began her musical path studying classical piano and flute, laying down the technical roots that would later support her fearless experimentation. Her first brushes with national ears came after a school recital in which she interpreted a standard performance for Tina Charles' 1976 pop hit, I Love to Love. Now, this impressed teachers, and they sent a recording of Björk's rendition to RUV, Iceland's only radio broadcaster at that time. Now, the track traveled across the airwaves, reaching listeners nationwide, and actually a record label from Iceland, a representative, heard it and offered her a recording contract at a very young age. Björk's debut record was actually titled Björk, and it emerged as a juvenile work, an early snapshot of a prodigy in formation for sure. Recorded when she was only 11 and released in Iceland in December of 77. It marked the beginning of a remarkable journey from a gifted child pianist and flutist to the singular artist who would redefine pop and beyond. Fast forward to 1987. She's the lead singer of the band The Sugarcubes. And on their breakout song Birthday, man, a haunting vocal that's defined by pure unbridled joy at the same time. I mean, her voice erupts in high-pitched childlike exclamations and giggles that feel genuinely delighted rather than performative. Really a beacon of spontaneity at the song's core. I mean, on Birthday, Björk uses her voice as an instrument, lurching between rapid pitch shifts and soaring peaks and sudden breathy drops. This fearless contortion gives the track its signature bounce, unpredictable but gleefully loose. I I said, this song, it's like a train wreck. It's a weird song, but that's what makes it amazing. You know, her Icelandic consonants and her naturally ethereal, slightly nasal timbre, it gives the performance this otherworldly whimsy that I've never heard on a pop song before. I mean, it's a sound that felt refreshing and just unmistakably hers from the very start. I remember listening to it in high school, and my dad burst into my room and said, "What in the hell are you listening to?" I said, "Yeah, her name's Björk." He stood there just fully perplexed. But then he said, "It's like strangely satisfying." I mean, isn't that the key to Björk? Oh, Birthday didn't just launch the Sugarcubes into international fame. Björk's vocal personality was the engine that made the song instantly infectious. I mean, the band's Saturday Night Live performance in 1988, though, was an early showcase of that manic, pure energy. Do you remember that? Definitely cemented the track's quirky charm for a massive audience. To me, Björk is one of the most distinct singers ever. In addition to her eccentric vocal style, Björk's personality, of course, notoriously erratic. In February of '96, Björk touched down in Bangkok with her 9-year-old son, Sindri, and she'd asked for privacy, but as soon as they stepped off the plane, there was a wave of reporters waiting. A journalist named Julie Kaufman went up to Sindri and said, "Welcome to Bangkok," and Björk's reaction? Well, it was quick and intense. She pulled herself between her son and the crowd, and at one point she lunged for the reporter, knocking her to the ground and then hitting her a couple of times. Yeah. The whole thing was captured on video and, of course, soon circulated worldwide. Björk later apologized, saying she was under huge stress and felt her son's privacy had been invaded. No charges were filed, but the incident became a big heated talking point about celebrity privacy and where the line should be drawn, with the media. All right, we're at the pinnacle or countdown of the top 10 hidden gem female vocal performances of the 80s. The performance we've anointed for the crown couldn't be more different from the performance that we selected as the runner-up. Coming in at number 1, I gotta go with one of my favorites. It's Brenda Russell's incredible performance on Piano in the Dark. Scott Cuter and Jeffrey Hall crafted the music for Piano in the Dark, and then they sent it to Brenda Russell, who would layer it with lyrics. Interestingly enough, the title came first, and the story followed like a natural afterglow. Brenda has a habit of collecting potential song titles in a little book, phrases she hears in everyday chat moments with friends, just scraps of conversation she writes down. When she spots a line she loves, she writes it down and stores it away, waiting for the music to spark a match. Now, when the new melody landed on her desk, Brenda felt an almost haunting beauty in that tune. She flipped through her title book, stopping at Piano in the Dark, and she wondered how the phrase might sing with that music. The idea didn't snap into place immediately, though, but she began to craft the lyrics. It was a story that started to emerge about a love affair in limbo, a narrator teetering on the edge of leaving a relationship. Now, the turning point in Brenda's story arrives when the lover sits at the piano and plays in the dark. In that private, vulnerable space, the music rekindles a passion she thought was fading, and she finds herself falling in love all over again. The piano becomes this silent, confident guide. And it's that emotional shift from doubt to devotion. It transforms a near goodbye into a late-night revival of feeling, and man, this song is so great. Brenda's vocal brilliantly sets the stage and surrounds us in that riveting love predicament. Brenda Russell's vocal delivery on Piano in the Dark, it threads seamlessly with the haunting piano and the delicate orchestration, weaving an immersive, melancholic mood for sure. Her style here is refined and deeply felt, perfectly matching the song's introspective, romantic heart, and really making the performance a standout showcase of her talent that still just gives me goosebumps every single time I hear it. Piano in the Dark marks her triumphant return to the Hot 100, with the single rising all the way to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, number 8 on the R&B chart, and number 3 on the AC charts. Brenda received 2 Grammy nominations in 1989, one for her performance on Piano in the Dark and the other for Song of the Year. There you have it, the top 10 female hidden gems. What is your favorite? What are your memories of these songs? What are some other great songs by females from the 80s that people have just simply forgotten that we need to rekindle? Let's talk about them below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.